The story opens in the heart of historic Charleston, where Theodosia Browning moves gracefully through her beloved indigo tea shop, a haven of warmth and elegance. The air is fragrant with the earthy aroma of loose-leaf teas, Darjeeling, Earl Grey, and Lapsang Souchong, mingling with the buttery sweetness of freshly baked scones. The shop itself is a reflection of Theodosia's refined taste: exposed brick walls, antique wooden shelves lined with tea tins, and delicate china set on lace-covered tables. At her side is Drayton Connolly, the shop's erudite tea master, whose encyclopedic knowledge of tea blends is matched only by his dry wit. He moves with quiet precision, measuring leaves with the care of an alchemist. Meanwhile, Haley Parker, the young and creative chef, bustles in the kitchen, pulling trays of lemon-lavender shortbread and cucumber sandwiches from the oven. The playful barks of Earl Grey, Theodosia's scruffy little dog, add a touch of lively chaos to the otherwise serene atmosphere. Theodosia, a former marketing executive who left the corporate world for the slower, more meaningful pace of tea and hospitality, surveys her domain with quiet pride. Today is no ordinary day. The shop is preparing for the Lamplighter Tour, a prestigious Charleston event where historic homes open their doors to the elite, and the Indigo Tea Shop has been chosen to provide refreshments. It's an opportunity to impress the city's high society, and Theodosia wants everything perfect. As she adjusts a vintage teapot display, she exchanges light-hearted banter with Drayton about the proper steeping time for first flush Darjeeling, while Haley insists on adding a modern twist to the menu. The dynamic between the three is effortless, a well-oiled machine of friendship and professionalism. Outside, the cobblestone streets of Charleston glow under the soft afternoon light, horse-drawn carriages clattering past, adding to the sense of timeless charm. But beneath the surface of this idyllic scene, there's a hint of something more, a foreshadowing of the drama to come. Theodosia's sharp eye catches a newspaper headline about controversial land developer Hughes Barron, a man known for bulldozing Charleston's history for profit. Drayton scoffs, calling him a scoundrel, and Theodosia makes a mental note to avoid any unpleasant encounters at the event. Little does she know that by nightfall her world will be upended, not by a misplaced teapot or a burnt scone, but by murder. The golden light of late afternoon spills across Charleston's historic district as the Lamplighter Tour begins. An evening where the city's grandest homes open their doors to society's elite, their parlors and gardens illuminated by flickering lanterns. The Indigo Tea Shop has been given the honor of serving refreshments at one of the most prestigious stops on the tour, and Theodosia Browning ensures everything is impeccable. Her stall is a vision of Southern charm: crisp linen tablecloths, polished silver teapots, and tiered trays laden with Haley's delicate tea sandwiches, buttery scones, and jewel-like pastries. Drayton stands ready with the star attraction, a rare, fragrant Darjeeling blend, its leaves carefully measured and steeped to perfection. The air hums with the murmur of well-dressed guests, their laughter mingling with the soft clink of fine china. But beneath the genteel surface, there's an undercurrent of tension. Hughes Barron, a brash real estate developer with a reputation for bulldozing Charleston's history for profit, arrives with an air of entitlement. His presence sends ripples through the crowd, disapproving glances, tightened lips, a few outright glares. Theodosia overhears snippets of hushed conversation. That man wouldn't know heritage if it bit him. He's trying to buy up the whole district, tear it down for condos. Barron seems oblivious, or perhaps he simply enjoys the disdain. He swaggers up to the tea table, helping himself to a cup of Darjeeling without so much as a thank you. Drayton's jaw tightens, but he maintains his professional composure. Nearby, Layla Banks, Baron's ex-lover, watches him with a gaze sharp enough to cut glass. Their breakup was anything but amicable, and the bitterness still lingers. When Baron makes a snide remark about her new floral business, Layla's knuckles whiten around her teacup. Timothy Neville, an elderly preservationist with old money dignity, exchanges icy pleasantries with Baron. It's no secret that Baron's latest development project threatens one of Neville's beloved historic properties. Their exchange is polite, but the hostility simmers beneath every word. Even Douglas Bastrop, a lawyer known for his calm demeanor, stiffens when Baron claps him on the back with false camaraderie. There's history there, something about a lawsuit gone wrong. Theodosia observes it all, her instincts humming. The evening is beautiful, but the air feels charged, like the moment before a storm, and then disaster. Baron coughs, stumbles. His face twists in pain as he clutches his throat. The delicate teacup shatters on the cobblestones. Gasps erupt as he collapses, his body convulsing before going horrifyingly still. Silence. Then chaos. Someone screams. A woman drops her tray. Drayton lunges forward, but it's too late. Hugh's Baron is dead. And the last thing he drank was the Indigo Tea Shop's Darjeeling. The moment unfolds like a slow-motion nightmare. 1 second, Hugh's Baron is standing there, smug and self-assured, swirling the last golden drops of Darjeeling in his cup. The next, his face contorts, a flicker of confusion, then pain. His fingers spasm, the delicate china slipping from his grasp. The teacup shatters against the cobblestones, the sound sharp as a gunshot in the suddenly hushed crowd. A choked gasp escapes his lips. His hands fly to his throat, clawing as if he could tear open an invisible noose. His skin flushes an unnatural red, then drains to a sickly gray. The convulsions start, violent, uncontrollable, his limbs jerking like a marionette with cut strings. The genteel atmosphere of the lamplighter tour fractures into chaos. A woman screams. A man lurches backward, knocking over a pedestal holding an antique lantern. Glass shatters, the flame guttering out against the damp stone. Drayton is the first to move, his tea master's composure shattered as he lunges forward, but Baron's body collapses before he can reach him. The thud of dead weight hitting the ground is horrifyingly final. Theodosia's mind races even as her body freezes. Her eyes dart to the remnants of the teacup, her Darjeeling. Around her, the crowd surges like a panicked tide. Someone shouts for a doctor. Another voice wails, "He's not breathing!" A well-dressed woman faints clean away, her crinoline skirt billowing as she drops. Then, cutting through the bedlam like a blade, Detective Bert Tidwell's booming voice. "Everyone, step back!" The massive detective shoulders his way through the crowd, his sharp eyes missing nothing. He kneels beside Baron's twisted form, presses 2 fingers to the man's neck. A beat, then he grimaces, shaking his head. Dead. The word ripples through the onlookers, whispers turning to exclamations. Tidwell's gaze lifts, locking onto Theodosia with unnerving intensity. "This was your tea?" It's not really a question. Theodosia's stomach plummets. Around her, the crowd's murmurs shift. "Did you see?" It was the tea shop's cup. She served him. What was in that drink? The lanterns still glow. The historic homes still stand proud, but the evening's magic is gone. Replaced by something darker. Because Hugh's Baron didn't just die, he was murdered. And the evidence points straight to the Indigo Tea Shop. Morning light filters through the lace curtains of the Indigo Tea Shop, but the warmth is gone. The clatter of the Charleston Post and Courier hitting the doorstep sounds like a gunshot in the stillness. Theodosia doesn't need to unfold it to know what's there. The headline screams up at her in bold black ink, "Death by Darjeeling, local tea merchant at center of poison scandal." Earl Grey whines at her feet, sensing her tension. She bends to stroke his fur, her fingers trembling slightly. Inside, the shop is too quiet. No bubbling kettles, no cheerful clatter of Haley's baking. Just Drayton sitting stiffly at a corner table, his usually impeccable waistcoat rumpled, staring into a cold cup of oolong. The bell jingles, all three of them startle. But it's not a customer. Detective Bert Tidwell fills the doorway, his bulk blocking the sunlight. His small, sharp eyes sweep the room like a hawk surveying prey. "Miss Browning?" His voice is deceptively mild. "We need to talk. Again." Theodosia's pulse kicks. She forces a polite smile. "Of course, Detective. Would you like some—" "No tea." The words land like a slap. He pulls out a notebook, flips pages with deliberate slowness. The preliminary tox report came back. Atropine, highly concentrated, the kind found in certain botanical specimens. His gaze flicks to Drayton. "You're quite the gardener, aren't you, Mr. Conley?" Drayton's teacup clatters against the saucer. "I grow roses, Detective, not deadly nightshade." Tidwell ignores him, turning back to Theodosia. "Here's what I find curious. Of the 50 people at that event, only 1 cup was poisoned, almost as if someone knew exactly who'd drink from it." The implication hangs in the air like smoke. Outside, a tour group pauses on the sidewalk. Theodosia catches snippets. "That's the place. Poison tea." A woman pulls her child closer, hurrying past. Haley slams a tray down on the counter. "This is ridiculous. We served hundreds of cups that night. Why would we—" "Haley." Theodosia cuts her off with a look. She meets Tidwell's gaze squarely. "We'll cooperate fully, of course, but you're wasting time looking here." Tidwell snaps his notebook shut. "Funny. I was about to say the same to you." The warning is clear. Stay out of my investigation. The door closes behind him with a soft click that feels louder than a slam. In the ringing silence, Theodosia looks around her empty shop. The vacant tables, the untouched pastries going stale under glass. She thinks of mortgages, of reputations, of how quickly trust evaporates. Then she picks up her purse. "Where are you going?" Drayton asks. She doesn't hesitate. "To find out who really killed Hughes Barron." Because if she doesn't, the Indigo Tea Shop won't survive the scandal. The hum of Charleston's midday heat presses down as Theodosia strides past the pastel-colored row houses of Church Street, her straw sun hat casting a determined shadow across her face. Earl Grey trots beside her, his leash taut with purpose. She's done waiting for answers. Her first stop is Layla Banks's floral boutique, Petals and Poison. The irony of the name isn't lost on her. The shop is a jungle of verdant greens and vibrant blooms, the air thick with the perfume of roses and something sharper, earthier. Layla emerges from the back, her hands stained with potting soil, her smile fading when she recognizes her visitor. Theodosia. Layla's voice is cool, her fingers plucking dead leaves from an arrangement with unnecessary force. "Here to accuse me of murder over peonies?" Theodosia feigns innocence, trailing a finger along a display of dried herbs. "Just admiring your work. You have such varied inventory." Her gaze lingers on a shadowy corner shelf. Belladonna, monkshood, oleander, all deadly, all beautifully labeled as decorative botanicals. Layla follows her look and stiffens. "For display only, obviously." "Obviously," Theodosia echoes. Then, softer. "Hughes really did a number on you, didn't he?" The vase in Layla's hand slips, smashing on the floor between them. Next, Timothy Neville's antebellum mansion, where the scent of old money and older resentment clings to the damask wallpaper. The elderly preservationist receives her in his study, a room drowning in leather-bound books and the acrid tang of pipe smoke. Tea? He gestures to a tarnished silver service. Tempting, Theodosia says, but I've developed trust issues. Neville chuckles, but his knuckles whiten around his cane. When she mentions Barron's latest project, the one threatening Neville's historic wharf district, his politeness cracks like old porcelain. That man would have paved over St. Michael's Church if it turned a profit. He spits the words. But poison? That's a woman's weapon. His pointed glance toward Layla's shop across the square isn't subtle. Douglas Bastrop's law office smells of lemon polish and lies. The attorney leans back in his chair, fingers steepled, as Theodosia casually mentions Barron's blackmail files. A muscle twitches near his eye. I wouldn't know anything about that. Funny, she muses, because Hughes's assistant said you were the last person in his private safe. The silence stretches like a noose. As twilight stains the sky lavender, Theodosia pauses beneath a gaslit alley, piecing together the puzzle. Earl Grey whines, nosing at her pocket for treats she forgot to bring. I know, boy, she murmurs, but someone planted that poison in our tea, and I intend to find out who before Detective Tidwell decides we're the convenient answer. A shadow detaches itself from the brick wall behind her. Miss Browning. She whirls to face Detective Tidwell's unreadable expression. Curious time for a stroll, he remarks, almost like you're investigating something. The game is afoot. The back room of the Indigo tea shop is dim, the scent of loose-leaf tea mingling with the musty aroma of old ledgers as Theodosia pores over the lamplighter tour guest list. Moonlight slants through the window, casting long shadows that seem to twitch with every rustle of paper. Earl Grey snores softly at her feet, oblivious to the storm brewing in her mind. She's been at this for hours, chasing whispers and half-truths, but the pieces refuse to fit. Then, a glint of metal catches her eye. Tucked behind a crate of Assam tea, half hidden under a burlap sack, sits a small, unmarked tin. Theodosia's breath hitches as she pries it open. Inside, a fine dusting of dried leaves clings to the interior, leaves that don't smell like tea at all. Belladonna. Her pulse thrums. Someone planted this here. Someone who wanted the blame to fall squarely on the Indigo tea shop. The Charleston Botanical Gardens are eerily quiet at dawn, the morning mist curling around the hedgerows like ghostly fingers. Theodosia moves with purpose, her heels clicking against the cobbled path as she heads straight for the poison garden, a section roped off with ominous warning signs. The caretaker, an elderly man with dirt under his nails, eyes her suspiciously. Not many folks ask about the deadly plants, he mutters, but he flips open the logbook anyway. Her finger traces down the page and stops. Layla Banks, 3 visits last month. And not just any visits. The caretaker's scrawled note in the margin makes her blood run cold. Requested Atropa belladonna specimens for research. Douglas Bastrop's office safe yields another clue when Theodosia accidentally bumps into his secretary at the coffee shop. A few well-placed questions about Barron's recent meetings, and the woman, flustered and over-caffeinated, lets slip. Theodosia sits at her desk, the soft glow of a single lamp casting long shadows across the scattered evidence before her. Earl Grey rests his chin on her knee, his warm brown eyes watching as she traces a finger over the notes she's gathered, each one a breadcrumb leading deeper into the maze of Hughes Barron's death. The belladonna tin found hidden in her shop. Layla's visits to the poison garden. Bastrop's nervous evasion when she mentioned blackmail. Neville's financial secrets and the investigator's receipt. Too many threads, too many motives. But then, the teacup. Detective Tidwell's revelation that Layla's fingerprints were on the shattered remains of Baron's cup changes everything. She was there, Theodosia murmurs aloud. She handled his tea. A memory flickers. Layla at the lamplighter tour, standing too close to the serving table, her hands fluttering near the cups. At the time, it had seemed like nerves. Now, it looks like opportunity. And then there's the letter. Tucked inside Baron's planner, half crumpled and nearly overlooked, is a handwritten note in looping, furious script. You ruin everything you touch, but not this time. The handwriting matches the florist's scrawl on Layla's shop receipts. Theodosia's breath catches. It all makes sense now. Layla had the means, her knowledge of poisonous plants. She had the opportunity, access to Baron's tea, and most of all, she had the motive. A heart full of vengeance after Baron destroyed her reputation, her business, her life. Theodosia pushes back from the desk, her pulse quickening. She needs to confront Layla, now. But as she reaches for her coat, a chilling thought stops her. If Layla killed once, what's to stop her from killing again? The greenhouse is a jungle of shadows, the glass panes fogged with humidity as Theodosia steps inside. The scent of damp earth and crushed petals clings thickly to the air, along with something sharper, more chemical. Belladonna. Layla stands at the far end, her back turned, pruning shears, snipping methodically at a tangle of vines. She doesn't turn around. I wondered when you'd come. Her voice is eerily calm. Theodosia's fingers tighten around the note in her pocket, the damning letter that ties Layla to Baron's death. Earl Grey, usually bold, presses close to her leg, his low growl vibrating against her calf. You killed him, Theodosia says. No question. Layla laughs, a sound like breaking glass. And here I thought you were just a tea peddler. Turns out you're clever. She finally turns, the shears glinting in her grip, but not clever enough to stay out of this. Theodosia holds her ground. He was blackmailing you, wasn't he? About the embezzlement at your old floral business. A flicker of rage crosses Layla's face. He ruined me once. Then he came back for seconds. Her thumb strokes the shears blade. So I made sure he'd never do it again. A drop of water plinks into a basin. Somewhere, a heating vent clicks on. Then, movement. Layla lunges, swinging the shears. Theodosia barely dodges, stumbling into a shelf of potted orchids. Ceramic shatters. Dirt sprays. Earl Grey barks wildly as Layla raises the shears again. Freeze! The greenhouse door crashes open. Detective Tidwell fills the doorway, his service revolver steady. Layla freezes, her chest heaving. Interesting timing, Theodosia pants, pressing a hand to her racing heart. Tidwell's gaze never wavers from Layla. You're not the only one who follows clues, Miss Browning. As he snaps cuffs on Layla, she twists toward Theodosia, eyes blazing. He deserved it. Theodosia watches her being led away, the weight of the night pressing down. Somewhere in the distance, a church bell tolls. Justice, bitter but served. The morning sun spills through the windows of the indigo tea shop like liquid gold, painting the honeyed oak floors and glinting off the polished silver teapots. The air hums with the familiar comforting sounds of Drayton grinding fresh leaves and Haley's whisk clinking against a mixing bowl. The scent of bergamot and warm gingerbread wraps around Theodosia like an old friend. The Charleston Post and Courier sits folded on the counter, its headline a far cry from the scandalous screamer of weeks past. Tea shop vindicated, killer florist arrested in Baron poisoning. Earl Grey dozes in a sunbeam, his paws twitching as he dreams of chasing squirrels. The bell above the door jingles, and Theodosia looks up to see Detective Bert Tidwell stride in, his usual gruff demeanor softened at the edges. "Miss Browning," he nods, removing his hat. "I'll take that tea now. Earl Grey, if you have it." "A peace offering." She pours, the steaming amber liquid swirling into a china cup. Tidwell takes a slow sip, then sets it down with a satisfied sigh. Layla Banks confessed. Full statement. Seems Barron was blackmailing her over some creative accounting at her previous business. Drayton sniffs. A motive, but no excuse. "No," Tidwell agrees. His eyes flick to Theodosia. "You took a dangerous risk, but you were right." The unspoken thank you hangs between them. By noon the place is bustling. Regulars return, their laughter a little louder, their curiosity piqued by the notoriety. "Is it true?" a woman whispers over her crumpets. "Did she really solve it?" Haley rolls her eyes and slides a plate of lemon tarts onto the table. "Of course she did." Even Timothy Neville makes an appearance, leaning on his cane as he orders a pot of lapsang souchong. "I owe you an apology," he murmurs, "and my gratitude. Barron's files have been disposed of." Theodosia merely smiles. Some secrets are best left steeped in silence. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.